Welcome to Prism Technologies. I am Venkat. This is part 66 of C# tutorial. In this video, we'll discuss about overloading indexers. Please watch part 64 and 65 before proceeding with this video. We'll be working with the example that we started in part 65. Now, if you remember, in part 65, we implemented an indexer that has an integer parameter. Notice this indexer that we implemented, it's accepting employee ID as its parameter. For the given employee ID, this indexer is going to return their name. Similarly, this indexer can also be used to change the employee name. For example, let's flip to this web form 1. Here we are creating an instance of the company class which has this indexer. Now let's say within this company I want to retrieve the name of an employee whose ID is 2. Then all I need to do is pass number 2 to the indexer, and look at the return type of this indexer. It's string, meaning it's going to return the name of that employee. Now if I want to change the name of this employee to Mark, all I need to do is set that name like this. So this piece of code is going to change the name of this employee with ID is equal to 2 to Mark. Okay, now at the moment this company class has got only one indexer and it's taking one parameter which is of type integer. Now remember, methods can be overloaded based on the number and type of parameters. Similarly, indexers can also be overloaded based on the number and type of parameters. At the moment, our class has one indexer and this indexer has an integer parameter. Okay, now let me copy this and paste this piece of code here. Now if you look at these two indexers, they are identical, meaning both of these indexers are having only one parameter and both of these parameters are of type integer. So obviously when I compile this project, I'm going to get an error. Look at the error. Type demo.company already defines a member called this, which is nothing but the indexer, with the same parameter types. So the parameter type is the same thing. So I'm going to get a compiler error because you cannot have indexers with the same number and type of parameters, multiple indexers. That's not possible. Now on the other hand, I can have something like this, int maybe age. Now if I build this, look at that. Will I get a compiler error? Notice on the status bar, build succeeded. Now I don't get a compiler error. Why? Because though this is an integer parameter, I have another parameter here. So that's how when I actually try to use these indexers, look at this. When we flip to the web form and let's say company, and then when I open the square bracket, notice that it shows there are two indexers. The first indexer takes only one parameter of type integer, and then if I click on this down arrow, look at that, it shows the other indexer which has got two parameters. Okay, so basically to distinguish between which indexer we want to invoke, you can only overload indexers based on the number and type of parameters. Now let's say I want to implement another indexer here which is going to return the total number of employees by gender. For example, let's in my company at the moment we have 8 employees here. Okay, now out of these 8 employees, if you look at the female employees, there are 1, 2 and 3. There are 3 female employees and 5 male employees. Now what I want to do is something like this. I should be able to print the total number of male employees. So response.write total male employees is equal to, now I want to use the indexer on this company object and pass gender to it. Okay, and this indexer should return the total number of employees to me. Now look at this, I have a red squiggly here showing that as an error because at the moment this company doesn't have any indexer that takes string parameter. Okay, so let's go ahead and implement something like this. Okay, and to do that, what I'm going to do, so here we have an indexer, so let's get rid of these two parameters and let's pass in a string parameter and of type gender. Okay, so gender is the name of the parameter. So basically what we want to do, we want to when I pass in gender, something like male here, I want to get the list of the count of all male employees within the company. Okay, so what are we passing here? Male. So what I'm going to do here, from this list I'm going to use a link function called count. So within that list we are invoking the count function. So for each employee within that list, if that employee gender matches with what we are passing in. So what are we passing? For example, on our web form, if you look at our web form, we are passing male. So when male is passed, it will check, okay, is the passed in gender male matches with the employee gender within this list? If yes, then it's going to count all those employees whose gender matches, and it's going to return that back. Now look at the return type of this count function. It's an integer. Okay, but what is the return type of our indexer? It's a string. So let's convert this to string using the toString method. So that's our get accessor. Now what else I want to do? I also want to implement the set accessor, meaning I want to change the gender of employees. For example, something like this. If I say company of male, so I want to change the gender of all male employees to maybe something like this, female. Is this possible? Absolutely. So all the male employees gender, change it to female. Okay, so let's implement the set accessor for our indexer. So here what we are passing in, we are passing in gender. So what I'm going to do here now, I'm going to loop through each employee object. So for each employee in the list employees, if the employee dot gender is equal to the gender so here what we are passing to the indexer, we are passing in male. So we are looping through each employee. If the gender of that employee matches with male, which is passed in, then what we want to do, we want to set that employee gender to whatever value that we are setting it to. So here what is the value that we are assigning? Female. So the male employee's gender is female because this value is going to receive whatever you assign after equal to. So we are changing the gender to female. Okay, so we have the indexer here. Now let's actually make some changes to properly test this code. So this line is going to print total male employees, and let's also print total female employees. So for that we need to pass female here, and this one is going to be before update. So response.write before update, and then let's print an HTML break so that the output comes in a separate line. Alright, so let's copy this and then have another HTML break. Let's have two HTML breaks here, and then look at what we are doing here. This line, before update, if you remember, within our company we've got five male employees and 3 female employees. So obviously these two lines should, this line should print 3 male employees, and this line should print the number of female employees, which is 5. Female employees are 3 and male employees are 5. And then here we are changing the gender of male employees to female. So after this line is executed, the number of total number of male employees will be 0, but total number of female employees will be 8. So let's copy these two lines and then paste them there. So we are basically printing the total number of male and female employees before and after update. So let's copy this line. So this line is going to change the gender of male employees to female, and let's call this after update, and then let's have an HTML break after that. Okay, so with these changes, let's go ahead and run. So obviously when the web form renders, the first two lines should print the number of male employees. Look at that, total male employees 5, that's before update. Okay, and total female employees 3, But after update, look at that, total male employees is 0 and total female employees is 8. Okay, so we are able to change the gender of the employees using this indexer. And using this indexer, when we pass male, you know here it's going to invoke the get accessor of our indexer that takes a string parameter. Okay, and this is going to return all the employees whose gender is male for this piece of line. Okay, and this line is going to invoke the set accessor of this indexer that takes the string parameter. Alright, so in this video we have seen how to overload indexers based on the number and type of parameters. On this slide you can find resources for ASP.NET C# and SQL Server interview questions. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.